my scary cyber story, I guess if you can call it that, takes place during my first IT position, um, while I was working at the Department of Veterans Affairs in East Orange, New Jersey. Um, so yes, yeah, my first IT job, we had an issue with our network printers. I still remember the model number. It was our P 2015 DN HP printers, and the problem was we were getting work order after work order where people were complaining that the printers just weren't working. They just stopped working, and it was so much. It was just becoming very overwhelming. And so what I did on my own, I did some research. I went to YouTube. I guess YouTube University, like a lot of people like to call it. I did some research on the printer. From what I learned, it is a prevalent problem with that model printer, with the formatter board. So I found one video where someone working on that same exact printer, he took it apart. He removed the formatter board from the printer. He put it on like a cookie sheet and put it in the oven. I don't recall the exact uh, measurements now. I don't remember how hot it had to be, but it had to be in the oven. I'd say, I don't know, at least 20 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes. Once it does that, you're quote unquote baking the board, and it's causing an issue where it needs to be reheated in order to complete the circuit on the board. So of course, a very non-conventional method. But he took it out, he let it cool let it cool down, reinserts it back into the printer, and he was printed again. So I was amazed by this because I never saw anything like that before. I didn't even think anything like that was even possible. So I went with my research results to my supervisor the next day. He thought I was nuts, but he he took a bet on me. He knew there was a risk, doing this, because of course it would have to involve me taking government property home and doing this and all this and that. But he trusted me enough to do it, and he said, to let him know how, if it works or not. So I was like, okay. So I took the printer home, went through the same steps that I learned from the video, and believe it or not, it worked. So it was almost like a Frankenstein type moment. Now, of course, this wasn't a permanent method. It was just something to kind of just hold us over to where we could breathe a bit, till we. And I can't remember if we just ordered different printers. I think that's what the case was. So it worked. I tested it, So I was very excited, So when the next day to work, I told my supervisor, I said, "Hey, it worked." And he was like, "Great, now you're gonna be our baker guy." So I was taking on quite a few of the calls, a few of the work orders that involved that specific model printer, and I was kind of repeating that process. And again, it was just buying us time until we have a more permanent solution. I would say another thing that maybe one could take from this story is that I believe it just goes to show how important mentors are. Or in this case, a supervisor. He did act like that as a mentor for me. Given that, as I said, this was my first IT position, I wasn't turning down any sort of jobs because to me, like, who am I to turn down anything? I want to learn. This is how I learn. I need experience. So, I was raising my hand for everything. But I believe my supervisor noticed that, and he was always encouraging me to, always work on myself, always, going for certifications, always looking to make myself better. And, I do it, attribute a lot of my success to, where I am now because of him, for him allowing me that leeway, that space to allow me to fail, honestly. I don't think not too many, I'd say, supervisors or maybe quote unquote leaders allow their people to do that. And I think we kind of lose sight of that a bit, in our development, and we we have to be patient. You know, allow them to make mistakes. Let them know it's okay. Of course, you do have to provide some, oversight, to make sure they're not going too far off the rails. But within reason, that's how you learn. I think a lot of people learn just having that, kind of getting their hands dirty and getting in there. You could take what you learn from the books, but I don't think anything really replaces that hands-on experience.